She gave him her heart, her trust, her love, and in return, he gave her betrayal. Believing lies, he signed the divorce papers that broke them apart. Alone, she raised their son, far from his world of luxury. But fate has a way of circling back, and when truth finally comes to light, he must fight harder than ever. Not for business, not for pride, but for the woman he lost and the family he never knew he had. Welcome to Fiction Feels, where every story feels like home. If you're a lover of heart-wrenching tales, betrayal, divorce, redemption, and unforgettable love, then you're in the right place. Here at Fiction Feels, we tell stories that truly resonate with the heart. Each one keeps you on your toes, makes your pulse race, and leaves you guessing until the very last word. As you watch, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the stories we drop daily just for you. Elena Ramirez stood in front of the mirror, fixing the pearl earrings Damien had given her on their first anniversary. They sparkled in the soft light of their penthouse bedroom, but her eyes didn't. Her reflection looked like that of a stranger. Elegant gown, flawless hair, a perfect smile that she would soon wear for the world. But inside, she felt empty. She let out a shaky breath. Tonight, they were hosting another grand charity gala, the kind of event Damien loved. Cameras would flash, reporters would gush about the billionaire couple, and society would whisper about how perfect they looked together. Perfect! The word tasted bitter in her mouth. Elena! Damien's deep voice came from the doorway. He was already dressed, black tuxedo hugging his tall frame, his tie knotted with military precision. His gray eyes scanned her from head to toe, unreadable as always. "Are you ready?" She forced a smile. "Almost." He gave a curt nod. No compliment, no warmth. Just business. Then he turned to check his watch. Time mattered more to him than her feelings these days. As they walked into the grand ballroom later, the crowd erupted in applause. Elena clung to his arm, smiling on cue as cameras flashed. Damien was the perfect billionaire husband in public. Charming, confident, powerful. To the world, they were a dream couple. But Elena knew the truth. Their marriage was cracking. The night dragged on. Elena mingled, laughed politely, and listened to endless conversations about money mergers and deals she barely understood. Damien was always surrounded by businessmen, glamorous women, and flashing lights. Every time she looked at him, she felt farther away. She remembered when they first met. Damien wasn't the cold man he was now. Back then, he was warm in his own way. He had smiled at her with genuine pride when she showed him her paintings. He had kissed her hands and told her she was his muse. She gave up her little art studio to marry him, believing love mattered more than anything. But now, she wondered if she had made the biggest mistake of her life. After midnight, when the last guest left, Elena and Damien returned to the penthouse. She slipped off her heels and leaned against the window, staring at the city lights. "Did you enjoy tonight?" he asked, loosening his tie. She turned to him. "Enjoy? Damien, I stood there like a piece of decoration while you worked the room. You barely spoke to me." His brows drew together. "It was a business event. You know that." "Everything is business with you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "When was the last time you looked at me as your wife, and not as some trophy you parade around?" He froze, his eyes hardening. "Elena, don't start this tonight." Tears filled her eyes. "Do you even love me anymore?" The silence that followed was heavier than any insult. He looked away, and in that moment, she had her answer. The days that followed grew colder. Damien worked late, sometimes not coming home at all. Elena buried herself in her secret. She was pregnant. She had discovered it 2 weeks ago. She wanted to tell him, but every time she tried, his anger, his coldness, or his indifference stopped her. She sat in the nursery one morning, painting the walls a soft cream. She wanted this child to feel love, even if she didn't anymore. But fate had sharper knives. One evening, Damien came home earlier than usual, his face like stone. He tossed a magazine on the table. On the cover was Elena, caught in a photo at a cafe with her childhood friend, Adrian. The headline screamed, "Billionaire's wife in secret affair?" Elena's stomach dropped. "This is ridiculous. Adrian is like a brother to me." "I told you I don't like you meeting him." Damien's voice was cold, sharp. "And now the world thinks you're cheating on me. Because of a picture?" Damien, you know me better than this. His jaw tightened. Do I? Her heart broke. You really think I would betray you? He turned away, his silence louder than words. Say it, she cried. Say you believe I cheated. His eyes burned into hers. I don't trust you any more, Elena. The words cut deeper than any blade. She pressed a hand to her stomach, feeling the tiny life inside her. She wanted to scream the truth, to tell him about the baby, but pride, pain, and fear chained her tongue. That night, she packed a small bag, but she couldn't leave. Not yet. She loved him too much, even when he didn't believe in her anymore. But love, she realized, wasn't enough. Not when trust was gone. The morning after their fight, Elena woke to silence. The other side of the bed was cold. Damien had left before dawn, like he always did now. She pressed her face into the pillow, trying to hold back tears. She used to wake up in his arms. He used to kiss her forehead before rushing off to work. Those days felt like a dream now, too far away to touch. Her phone buzzed. She grabbed it, thinking maybe it was Damien. But it wasn't. It was another headline. Inside the billionaire's marriage, Elena Ramirez and Adrian Cole spotted again. The article twisted innocent moments into ugly lies. A hug between childhood friends became a secret embrace. A coffee meetup became a romantic date. Her chest tightened. How could people be so cruel? And worse, why did Damien believe them? That evening, Damien came home earlier than usual. But instead of his briefcase, he carried a thick envelope. He dropped it on the table without looking at her. What's this? Elena whispered, her voice trembling. Divorce papers. The world stopped. Her ears rang, her knees wobbled. She clutched the back of a chair to steady herself. You can't be serious. His face was blank, his tone sharp. I won't be made a fool in front of the entire world, Elena. Sign them. She shook her head violently. No. Damien, no. You're letting lies destroy us. They're not lies, he snapped. I've seen enough. The whispers, the pictures, the way you defend him. Because he's my friend. Tears streamed down her face. I have given you everything. I left my dreams, my career, my freedom for you. And now you throw me away because of gossip. His expression didn't soften. I can't live with a woman I can't trust. Her heart cracked. She wanted to tell him about the baby, to scream the truth in his face. But something inside her stopped her. If he didn't trust her as his wife, would he believe her as the mother of his child? Or would he call it another lie? So she swallowed her pain. If that's what you want, she whispered, her voice breaking, then I'll sign. The divorce was brutal. Papers were filed. Lawyers were hired. The media swarmed like vultures, hungry for every detail of the billionaire's broken marriage. Elena became the villain in every headline, the unfaithful wife, the gold digger, the woman who dared to hurt Damien Blackwood. Strangers hurled insults online, some even in public. Every whisper, every glare tore another piece of her soul. Through it all, Damien stood tall, cold, untouchable. He gave no interviews, made no public comments. His silence spoke louder than words. To the world, his silence was confirmation of her guilt. At night, Elena cried herself to sleep, her hands wrapped protectively around her stomach. The day of the court hearing arrived. Elena sat in the courtroom, her heart pounding so loudly she thought everyone could hear it. Damien sat across the room, sharp in his tailored suit, his expression unreadable. He didn't look at her. Not once. The judge's voice was a blur. Legal terms, property division, settlement amounts, all meaningless to her. The only words that cut through were, marriage dissolved. Just like that, her world ended. She stumbled out of the courtroom, her legs weak, her vision blurry with tears. Reporters shoved microphones in her face. Cameras flashed. Elena, did you cheat? Elena, do you regret it? Elena, what will you do now? She ran. She ran until her lungs burned, until the city lights blurred into streaks of pain. That night, she sat alone in her tiny apartment. She had left the mansion, the cars, the jewelry, everything. She didn't want his money. She only wanted peace. Her hand rested on her belly. The baby kicked gently, as if reminding her she wasn't completely alone. I'll protect you, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. even if I have to do it without him. She thought of Damien, of his cold eyes, his harsh words. A part of her still loved him, even after everything. But love couldn't survive where trust had died. She closed her eyes and made a promise to herself and to her child. No more tears, no more begging. From now on, it's just us, and we will be okay. Meanwhile, Damien sat alone in his office, staring at a glass of whiskey he hadn't touched. The divorce was final. He should have felt relief. Instead, his chest ached with something he couldn't name. Elena's face haunted him, her tears, her trembling voice, her desperate pleas of innocence. For a moment, a flicker of doubt gnawed at him. What if she had been telling the truth? He pushed the thought away and poured another drink. He told himself he had done the right thing, that cutting her out was the only way to protect his pride, his empire, his image. But late at night, when the world was silent, he couldn't escape the memory of her eyes, the pain, the betrayal, the love that still lingered even as she walked away. And for the first time in his life, Damien Blackwood wondered if he had just destroyed the only thing that ever truly mattered. The first weeks after the divorce were the hardest. Elena moved into a small apartment far from the city center, where no one knew her face or cared about her past. The walls were thin, the furniture old, and the neighbors noisy, but for the first time in years, she could breathe. No reporters, no flashing cameras, no cold husband. At night, though, loneliness crept in like a thief. She would lie in bed, one hand over her belly, listening to the silence. She used to fall asleep to the sound of Damien's steady breathing beside her. Now, all she had was the faint hum of traffic outside and the ache of memories she couldn't forget. One evening, as she folded a basket of baby clothes she had bought secondhand, she felt the baby kick stronger than ever before. She gasped, her eyes filling with tears. "Hello, my little one," she whispered, placing both hands on her stomach. "You're the reason I keep going." That night, for the first time in weeks, she smiled. Elena began to rebuild her life piece by piece. She opened a small art studio downtown, the dream she had abandoned when she married Damien. At first, she was scared no one would come. But slowly, people noticed her work. A young mother commissioned her to paint a family portrait. A bookstore owner asked for watercolor illustrations for a children's corner. Every stroke of her brush healed a piece of her broken heart. When her belly grew, some clients asked about the father. Elena simply said, "It's just me and the baby." She didn't know anyone the truth. Across the city, Damien's life was the opposite. To the world, he was still the ruthless billionaire. He signed contracts, bought companies, and made headlines. But at night, his penthouse felt like a museum, cold, empty, lifeless. He sometimes walked past the room that used to be Elena's art space. It was bare now, the easel gone, the walls plain. He remembered how she used to hum softly as she painted, how the scent of turpentine and flowers used to fill the air. Now, silence echoed back at him. He drank more these days. Whiskey became his closest companion. He told himself he didn't miss her. But every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, tear-streaked, broken, whispering, "Do you even love me anymore?" And he hated himself because he had never answered. 3 months after the divorce, Damien attended a business gala. Women surrounded him, eager to catch his attention. He smiled politely, but his heart wasn't in it. Then, across the room, he saw her. Elena. She wore a simple navy dress, her hair loose, her glow unmistakable. Her belly was round now, a visible sign of the life growing inside her. She laughed softly with a woman beside her, one hand resting protectively on her stomach. Damien's chest tightened. She looked radiant, strong, alive, and she wasn't his anymore. For a moment, their eyes met. Hers widened in shock, then hardened. She turned away, refusing to acknowledge him. The rejection stung more than he expected. He wanted to go to her, to demand answers, to ask who the father was. But pride rooted him in place. He had no right to ask, not after what he'd done. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept seeing her belly, her hand resting over it, her quiet smile. Could it be? No. He shook the thought away. She must have moved on quickly. That child wasn't his. It couldn't be. But doubt gnawed at him, piece by piece. Meanwhile, Elena gave birth to a beautiful baby boy 2 months later. She named him Noah. The moment she held him in her arms, all the pain, all the tears, all the loneliness faded. Noah's tiny fingers curled around hers, and her heart swelled with love she had never known before. "You're my everything now," she whispered, kissing his soft forehead. "We don't need anyone else." She meant it. At least, she wanted to. But sometimes, late at night, when Noah slept peacefully beside her, she thought of Damien. She wondered if he ever thought of her, if he regretted the words that had destroyed them, if he knew Noah was his son. Then she shook the thought away. Damien had chosen pride over love. He didn't deserve to know. Months passed. Elena's studio flourished. She became known for her tender, emotional paintings, art that spoke of heartbreak, healing, and hope. Clients came not just for her skill, but for the quiet strength she carried. One afternoon, as she painted Noah's portrait, her assistant entered with a nervous look. "Elena, there's someone here to see you." She looked up, expecting a client. But when the door opened, her brush slipped from her hand. Damien stood there, his gray eyes locked on hers, then dropped to the baby in her arms. His face went pale. For the first time in his life, Damien Blackwood looked lost. "Elena," he said softly, almost a whisper. Her heart raced. Memories of their love, their fights, their divorce flooded back in an instant. She tightened her hold on Noah. "What are you doing here?" she asked coldly. He swallowed hard, his gaze never leaving the baby. "That's your child?" "My son," she corrected. His lips trembled. "How old is he?" Her silence was enough. Damien's chest constricted. His worst fear and deepest hope had come true. This was his child, his blood, his son. "Elena!" His voice broke for the first time she could remember. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her eyes burned with tears, but her voice was firm. "Because you didn't trust me. Because you threw me away." He flinched as if struck. "Elena, please." "No," her voice cracked. "You don't get to walk in here after destroying me and demand answers. You lost that right the day you handed me those divorce papers." Damien's eyes glistened, his shoulders sagging. For once, the powerful billionaire looked like a broken man. "I made a mistake," he whispered. "The biggest mistake of my life." Elena's tears fell freely now, hot and bitter. "Yes, you did." She turned away, holding Noah close. And Damien knew, for the first time in his life, that he might never be able to fix what he had broken. Damien couldn't get Elena's words out of his head. "You don't get to walk in here after destroying me." They echoed through his mind as he sat alone in his penthouse, a glass of untouched whiskey on the table. For years, he had believed himself untouchable, powerful, decisive, always right. But now, for the first time, he hated himself. He had divorced the woman he loved. He had abandoned her when she needed him most. And worse, he had missed the first months of his son's life. His son. The word shook him to the core. The next morning, Damien called his investigator, the one who had originally shown him the evidence of Elena's supposed affair. "Find out everything again," Damien ordered, his voice cold but trembling underneath. "This time, dig deeper. I want the truth." The man hesitated. "But, sir, we already—" "The truth," Damien barked. "Not rumors. Not manipulated photos. I want names, motives, everything." 2 weeks later, the report landed on his desk. Damien's hands shook as he flipped through the pages. Adrian, Elena's childhood friend, had never been her lover. Every meeting had been innocent. Every rumor had been planted. The real culprit? A woman named Vanessa Clark, Damien's former business partner and ex-lover. She had leaked photos to the media, twisted stories, and fed whispers into Damien's ear. Her motive was clear. She wanted Elena out of the picture so she could reclaim Damien. Damien's stomach turned. He dropped the file, his chest heaving with anger. He had believed lies. He had chosen suspicion over love. He had destroyed his marriage with his own hands. And the cruelest part, Elena had been innocent all along. That evening, Damien drove to Elena's studio without calling ahead. He needed to see her, to beg for forgiveness, to fall at her feet if he had to. When he entered, she was painting with Noah in a playpen beside her. The sight pierced his heart, his son laughing, Elena humming softly as she worked. They looked like a family he had thrown away. "Elena," he said quietly. She froze, her brush hovering over the canvas. Slowly, she turned, her face guarded. "What are you doing here?" "I know the truth," he said, his voice breaking. "It wasn't you. It was Vanessa. She set you up. She destroyed us." Elena's eyes flickered with pain, then anger. "And you believed her over me. Your wife." "I was wrong," Damien whispered, his chest tight. "I let my pride, my jealousy blind me. I see that now. Elena, I ruined everything. Please forgive me." Her tears brimmed, but her voice was firm. "Forgiveness doesn't erase what you did. You didn't just doubt me. You humiliated me, abandoned me, divorced me while I carried your child." Damien stepped closer, his eyes wet. "If I could take it all back, I would. I'd give up every dollar, every deal, every ounce of power just to have you and Noah. I love you, Elena." "I never stopped." Her heart twisted at his words, but the scars were deep. "Love," she whispered bitterly. "You don't destroy the people you love, Damien. You don't throw them away like trash." He fell to his knees, his hands trembling. "I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I'm begging you, give me one. Not for me, for Noah. He deserves his father." Her eyes softened at the mention of their son. She looked at Noah, who giggled innocently, oblivious to the storm between his parents. Elena's chest ached. She wanted Noah to have a father, but she also feared letting Damien back into her heart, only to be broken again. "Damien," she said softly, "being a father isn't about blood. It's about trust. And I don't trust you anymore." The word shattered him. Days turned into weeks. Damien refused to give up. He sent flowers, gifts, and letters. Elena ignored them all. He showed up at the studio, not with demands, but to play with Noah. He built block towers, made silly faces, and read bedtime stories whenever Elena allowed him near. Slowly, Noah grew attached to him. One evening, when Damien was about to leave, Noah cried and reached out his tiny arms. "Dada!" The sound froze the room. Damien's eyes filled with tears as he held his son close. "Yes, Noah. Dada's here." Elena watched silently, her heart torn. Damien had hurt her deeply, but the way he looked at Noah was real, raw, and full of love. One rainy night, Damien knocked on her door again. His hair was wet, his suit rumpled. "I know you don't want to see me," he said softly, "but please just hear me out." She crossed her arms but didn't shut the door. "I can't undo the past," he continued, his voice trembling. "But I can change the future. Let me prove it. Not with money, not with promises, but with actions. Let me earn back your trust, day by day, no matter how long it takes." Elena's eyes stung with tears. For the first time, Damien wasn't the cold billionaire. He was just a man, broken, desperate, and sincere. She wanted to believe him, but fear still chained her heart. "Words are easy, Damien," she whispered. "I've heard them before." "Then watch me," he said, his eyes fierce. "I'll show you." From that day, Damien changed. He didn't just shower her with gifts. Instead, he helped quietly. He fixed the leaky faucet in her apartment. He bought supplies for her studio without putting his name on them. He cooked dinner for her and Noah, even though his attempts were sometimes a disaster. Every gesture slowly broke the walls around Elena's heart. One evening, as she watched Damien reading Noah a bedtime story, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, peace. But just as quickly, fear returned. Peace could be shattered, trust could be broken, and love could destroy her all over again. Late at night, Elena sat by the window watching the rain. She whispered to herself, "Do I let him back in, or do I protect myself?" Her heart didn't know the answer. But deep inside, one truth remained. She still loved Damien. And that terrified her most of all. Damien never thought he would learn to braid hair or read bedtime stories, but here he was, sitting cross-legged on the carpet of Elena's living room, with Noah's toy cars scattered everywhere. Noah laughed as Damien made silly engine sounds, racing 2 cars across the rug. "Daddy, you're losing," the boy giggled, eyes sparkling. Damien's chest tightened at the word daddy. He didn't correct him. He couldn't. Hearing Noah call him, that was both a blessing and a punishment. He had missed so many years of his son's life, and he could never get them back. When Noah finally fell asleep, Damien tucked him in carefully. He stood at the doorway, watching the small chest rise and fall. A part of him healed in that moment, but the real wound remained outside, sitting on the couch with folded arms and wary eyes. Elena. She hadn't softened toward him, not really. She allowed him near Noah because she believed a boy deserved to know his father. But her walls were high, stronger than before. "Don't think this changes anything," she said coldly as he returned to the living room. "You don't get a free pass just because Noah likes you." Damien nodded, swallowing the sting. "I know. I'm not asking for a free pass. I'm asking for a chance." Her eyes flashed. "A chance? After the way you broke me? After you destroyed everything we had? Damien, you don't just erase betrayal with playtime and bedtime stories." Her words cut deep, but he didn't run from them. He stood there, hands trembling, voice steady. "You're right. I can't erase it. But I can prove to you, every single day, that I'm not the man I was." The next days became a test of his patience and love. When Noah wanted to go to the park, Damien was there, pushing him on swings, catching him at the bottom of the slide. Elena sat on the bench, watching with her arms crossed, her eyes softening for brief moments before she quickly hardened again. When Noah got sick with a fever, Damien stayed by his bedside all night, holding the boy's tiny hand while Elena fetched medicine. At one point, their fingers brushed, and the familiar spark shot through her. She pulled away quickly, heart pounding. "Don't look at me like that," she whispered. "Like what?" he asked softly. "Like you still love me." Damien's throat tightened. "I never stopped." Her chest ached, but she turned away. She couldn't let herself fall again, not so easily. He kept trying. Not with money, but with humility. One Saturday morning, he showed up at Elena's apartment with groceries. "I know you hate cooking when you're tired," he said. "Let me make breakfast." She raised an eyebrow. "You? Cook?" Instead of arguing, he rolled up his sleeves and tried. The kitchen turned into chaos. Pancake batter on the counter, eggs almost burned. But Noah laughed so much that Elena couldn't help smiling. When Damien caught that smile, his heart soared. But it vanished the moment she noticed his gaze. She looked away, tightening her jaw. "You can't charm your way back, Damien," she muttered. "I'm not trying to charm you," he replied gently. "I'm trying to remind you that I'm human, that I'm here, that I won't give up." At night, when Noah was asleep, they often found themselves in the same room, silence thick between them. One evening, Damien finally broke it. "Elena," he whispered, his voice almost breaking. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know I'm not the same man. I'd give up everything I own if it meant proving to you that I can be better. That I am better." Her eyes glistened, but she shook her head. "You don't get to say that. You can't just decide you're changed and expect me to open my heart again." He stepped closer, his voice trembling. "Then tell me what to do. Tell me how to earn it." Her lips parted, but no words came. She wanted to tell him there was no way. She wanted to shut him out completely. But her heart betrayed her, beating faster, aching with a love she still carried. It terrified her. So instead, she whispered, "Keep proving yourself, day after day. And maybe one day I'll believe you." Damien swallowed hard, eyes wet, voice rough. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life proving it." Elena turned away, hugging herself. Her heart screamed at her to forgive him, to fall into his arms and let love win. But her mind screamed louder, "Don't get hurt again. Don't be a fool." Between fear and love, she stood trembling, caught in the storm of her own heart. And Damien, broken yet determined, vowed silently, "I will win her back, no matter how long it takes." He was learning patience in ways he never imagined. It wasn't business patience, the kind he used when waiting for a deal to close or for stocks to rise. No, this was different. This was personal, intimate, painful. He was waiting for Elena, waiting for even the smallest sign that she believed in him again. But she was careful, so careful. Every time he thought her walls had cracked, she built them higher. One morning, Damien showed up at Elena's door with Noah's favorite cereal. "You didn't have to do that," Elena said flatly when she opened the bag. "I wanted to," he replied. Her eyes narrowed. "This isn't about buying me, Damien. I don't care how many groceries you bring." His chest tightened. "It's not about that. I want to take care of both of you. In small ways. In real ways. Elena didn't answer. But that night she poured Noah a bowl of that cereal, and when her son smiled, her heart softened just a little. She hated that Damien still had the power to stir her feelings. Damien made it a habit to walk Noah to school whenever he could. At first, Elena went with them, standing apart with her arms crossed, watching. But slowly, she let the two of them go on their own. He would hold Noah's small hand, bending down to listen when the boy talked about superheroes or classmates. Sometimes, other parents at the school gates whispered. They recognized him, the billionaire in simple clothes, holding a child's backpack instead of a briefcase. But Damien didn't care. For once in his life, image meant nothing. When Elena saw the way Noah came home, running into the apartment to tell her, "Mommy, Daddy said he'll teach me to ride a bike this weekend," her heart ached. She wanted that joy for her son. But she also wanted to protect herself from the man who had once shattered her. At night, the tension grew heavier. One evening, they sat on opposite ends of the couch after Noah had fallen asleep. The TV played softly, but neither of them was watching. Damien finally spoke. "You don't have to keep looking at me like I'm going to disappear tomorrow." "I'm not." Elena turned, eyes sharp. "And how do I know that?" "You disappeared once. You turned your back when I needed you most. What makes you think I'll believe you won't do it again?" His voice cracked. "Because losing you was the biggest mistake of my life. I won't survive repeating it." Her lips parted, but she forced herself to look away. Deep inside, her heart raced at the rawness in his voice. But she wouldn't let him see it. Not yet. Damien's persistence showed in small things. When Elena came home from a long shift at work, exhausted, he was already there, helping Noah with homework, dishes washed, living room neat. When she caught a cold, he showed up with soup. She almost sent him away, but Noah clung to him, and she was too tired to argue. When the rent was due, he offered to pay, but she refused sharply. "I don't want your money, Damien." "I know," he said softly. "I wasn't trying to buy you. I want to share the weight you carry." Her throat tightened, but she didn't answer. Still, her heart betrayed her at the smallest moments. Once, she caught him laughing with Noah, his head thrown back, his eyes crinkled in a way she hadn't seen in years. She froze in the doorway, her chest aching. He looked so human, so gentle, so unlike the cold man who had betrayed her. Another time, when they reached for the same dish at dinner, their fingers brushed. Electricity shot through her. She pulled back quickly, her breath uneven. Damien noticed but said nothing. His silence was louder than words. At night, when she lay in bed, she hated herself for still loving him. But love wasn't something she could erase, no matter how hard she tried. Damien, for his part, refused to rush her. He knew the old him would have tried to force his way in, using wealth, charm, power. But now he understood that the only way to win Elena back was to let her choose. And so he waited. He showed up. He gave without expecting. He stood in the background of her life, like a man ready to rebuild trust brick by brick. One day, when Noah fell asleep on his lap during a movie, Elena came to lift the boy. But Damien shook his head gently. "Let him stay," he whispered. "I'll carry him to bed." Elena watched as Damien lifted Noah with such care, tucking him in softly. Her eyes stung. She turned away quickly, terrified of the tears threatening to fall. She whispered to herself, "Don't give in. Don't forget the pain." But her heart whispered back, "He's changed. Can't you see?" But a part of her heart refused to believe it. She lived between two truths. She still loved Damien. She still feared him. Damien lived with one vow: to keep proving, no matter how long it took. The storm inside her grew stronger with every passing day, and the closer he got to Noah, the more impossible it became to keep her heart locked away. On the other hand, Vanessa had been watching. She never forgave Damien for leaving her behind. She never forgave Elena for having what she thought should have been hers, a place at Damien's side, a family, a child. From the shadows, she had watched them grow closer again. She saw Damien laugh with Noah at the park. She saw Elena soften even as she fought it. Every small crack in Elena's walls filled Vanessa with rage. "He should have chosen me," she thought bitterly. "He should have stayed mine." And so, she planned. If she couldn't have Damien's love, she would destroy his joy. It was a quiet afternoon when it happened. Elena had just come home from work, tired but smiling as Noah told her about his day at school. Daddy said he'll take me to the zoo this weekend, Noah said excitedly. Elena's heart tightened. She wanted to say no, to remind herself that Damien wasn't back in their lives fully. But the way Noah's eyes shone made her swallow her words. She kissed his forehead instead. "We'll see, sweetheart." Just then, a knock came at the door. Elena frowned. She wasn't expecting anyone. "Mommy, I'll get it," Noah said, running toward the door. "Noah, wait." Elena called, but it was too late. The door opened. A woman stood there, tall, with a sharp smile and cold eyes. "Vanessa." Before Elena could react, Vanessa grabbed Noah's arm. The boy gasped, confused. "Mommy," he cried. "Let go of him." Elena screamed, lunging forward. But Vanessa was quicker. A cloth pressed against Noah's face, his little body going limp within seconds. "Noah!" Elena's voice broke into a sob. Vanessa dragged the boy into a black car waiting outside. "You took everything from me, Elena. Let's see how you feel when I take everything from you." The car sped away, leaving Elena on the ground, trembling, screaming her son's name. Damien was in his office when his phone rang. It was Elena. "Damien," her voice was broken, frantic. "They took him." Vanessa took Noah. The world stopped. Damien's blood turned to ice. "What did you say?" She came to the door. She drugged him. He's gone, Damien, he's gone." Elena sobbed uncontrollably. Damien was already grabbing his keys, his heart pounding like a drum of war. "I'm coming. I swear. Elena, I'll bring him back." Minutes later, Damien burst into Elena's apartment. She was on the floor, shaking, clutching Noah's toy car in her hand. "Elena!" Damien dropped to his knees, pulling her into his arms. She resisted for a second, then broke, crying into his chest. "He's just a little boy," she sobbed. "What if she hurts him? What if I never see him again?" Damien's jaw tightened, his own tears burning his eyes. "Listen to me. I'll get him back. I don't care what it takes. I'll give my life before I let anything happen to him." Elena gripped his shirt, her eyes wild with fear. "Damien, don't let her hurt him. Please, he's all I have." Damien cupped her face, his voice shaking but steady. "No, Elena. He's ours, and I will bring him home. I promise you." Hours blurred into chaos. Damien used every connection he had, private investigators, security contacts, even underground sources he had once despised. He didn't care. Money, pride, reputation, none of it mattered now. Only Noah. Elena sat in the corner of his office, knees pulled to her chest, praying, whispering Noah's name over and over. Every time the phone rang, her heart leapt and crashed. Finally, Damien's phone buzzed. A distorted voice came through. "Vanessa! Looking for your precious boy, Damien," she taunted. "He's with me. Safe for now." "Vanessa, listen to me." Damien's voice was sharp, desperate. "Don't do this. He's just a child. He's innocent." "Innocent!" Vanessa laughed bitterly. "So was I, before you threw me away. Now you'll know how it feels to lose everything." "Please," Damien whispered, his voice breaking. "Take me. Do whatever you want to me. Just don't hurt Noah." Elena froze, tears spilling down her cheeks as she heard him. He wasn't bargaining with money, or power, or pride. He was offering himself. Vanessa's voice darkened. "We'll see. I'll be in touch." The line went dead. Damien slammed his fist into the desk, his body trembling with rage and fear. Then he turned to Elena, eyes burning. "I'm going to find him," he vowed, "even if I have to tear this city apart with my bare hands." Elena stared at him, her heart breaking and healing all at once. For the first time, she saw not just the billionaire, not just the man who had betrayed her. She saw a father ready to risk everything. And it terrified her, because deep down she knew she still loved him. The night air was thick with tension. Elena's heart hammered as the minutes stretched like hours. She clutched her phone, waiting, praying for any news. Her hands trembled as she whispered Noah's name over and over, as though her son might hear her through the darkness. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a call from the police. She answered in a rush, her voice breaking. Please, is my son safe?" Before the officer could speak, Another sound split through the night, the roar of an engine, headlights cutting through the driveway. Elena's legs nearly gave way when she saw Damien's car screech to a halt. The door flew open, and there he was, Damien, staggering, blood seeping from his arm, his shirt torn. In his arms was Noah, his little body clinging tightly to Damien's neck. "Mama!" Noah's cry broke Elena. She ran, tears streaming, and scooped him into her arms, kissing his face all over. My baby, are you hurt?" she asked, frantic. Noah shook his head. "I'm okay. Daddy saved me." Elena froze at those words. Her eyes lifted slowly to Damien. His face was pale, sweat dripping down his temple, his body swaying like he was about to collapse. But his gaze, burning, desperate, was locked on her. "I got him back," Damien rasped, his voice hoarse. "I told you, Elena. I'd protect him, no matter what it costs me." And with that, his knees buckled. Elena gasped, rushing forward just in time to catch him before he hit the ground. Damien, stay with me." Her hands pressed against his wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Panic tore through her chest as she screamed for help. Neighbors, drawn by the chaos, rushed over. Someone called for an ambulance. Elena cradled his face, her tears falling freely. "Don't you dare leave me," she whispered fiercely. "Don't you dare leave us." At the hospital, the waiting felt endless. Elena sat with Noah curled against her chest, her mind replaying every second of Damien stumbling out of that car, bleeding but holding their son safe. The doctor finally emerged. Elena jumped to her feet. "Is he?" Her voice cracked. "He lost a lot of blood," the doctor said gently, "but he'll be fine. He's a strong man. He insisted we come tell you the moment he was stable." Relief crashed through Elena, so hard her knees nearly buckled. She pressed her lips to Noah's hair, whispering a shaky prayer of thanks. Hours later, she stood by Damien's bedside. He looked pale against the white sheets, but his chest rose and fell steadily. For a long time, she just watched him, her heart caught between love and fear. When his eyes fluttered open, she sucked in a breath. "Elena!" he whispered, his voice rough. She gripped his hand tightly, the tears coming again. "Why would you risk your life like that? You could have." Her voice broke. "You could have died." Damien tried to smile, though it hurt him. "Because he's my son. Because you're everything. I couldn't let Vanessa take the only family that matters." His hand squeezed hers weakly. "Even if you never forgive me, I needed you to know I'd give my life for you. For both of you." Elena's lips trembled. Her heart was screaming, "I still love you," but fear held the words back. She had built walls around her heart for so long, walls made of betrayal and hurt. But tonight, Damien had shattered them with his sacrifice. She leaned closer, her forehead brushing his. "You're a fool," she whispered, her voice breaking. "A fool for nearly dying. And I'm a fool because I still love you, Damien, even after everything." His breath hitched, tears slipping from the corners of his eyes. "Say it again," he begged, voice raw. "Please, Elena. I need to hear it." Her hands cupped his face, her tears mixing with his. "I love you. I never stopped. That's why it hurt so much when you broke me. That's why I was so scared to let you back in. But tonight, you showed me that you've changed. That you're not the man who let me go. You're the man who would fight to the ends of the earth for me and our son." Damien's lips trembled as a broken smile tugged at them. "I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. No more lies. No more betrayal. Just us. If you'll let me." Elena rested her head against his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "I'm still angry. I'm still scared. But I'm done running from how I feel. You have my heart, Damien. You always did." Noah's small voice suddenly piped up from the doorway, making them both laugh through their tears. "Does this mean we're a family now?" Elena turned, opening her arms to him. "Yes, baby. We're a family." Noah climbed into the bed, curling between them. Damien wrapped his arm around both of them, his expression filled with wonder, gratitude, and a love so raw it hurt to look at. For the first time in years, Elena felt whole. Broken pieces had been mended, not by Damien's wealth, not by his power, but by his sacrifice, his love, and the truth they could no longer deny. And in that fragile hospital room, with the three of them tangled together, Elena realized something she never thought she'd feel again. Hope,